So this one will be showing character personalities quickly and efficiently, because these fights are 1 to 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Showing character through fighting styles and through stuff you do in the combat. And we have a little bit. We actually have some tools. This isn't so much from scratch. With the character creation we were talking about before, we were like, coming from somewhere, like starting from nothing. How do you build a character? Like, what don't you do? But we have a little bit more guiding leeway in this because they're the 7 forms. We're not gonna. I don't really think we need to talk specifically about them unless you want to.
No, I don't want to.
I'd say we're probably at 65% agreement for the forms, and that's close enough. That's good enough.
We at least have the terminology.
Without one of us admitting they're wrong, we're not going to get any further.
Exactly.
So, how to show character personalities through fighting styles. There's something I noticed, and this is something I actually really appreciate in the video me and Alex made. When you watch it, because those are old clips of us from the club. And you can see in those old clips, very symmetric. There's no clear winner, there's no clear person at disadvantage. We're both just kind of like pop, 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 pop. Even in the scene where this duck dodges, it's like, oh, he ducks, and then the blade comes over, and then he stands up, and another person ducks, and the blade, and it's like mirrored images back and forth. But in the reimagined scenes, there's very clearly someone in charge, even if only for a moment. I press him with the blade, and he like leans back a little, and then he pushes forward, and I dropped one knee. And so it's like, I had the initiative, and I pushed on him, but then he pushed me back hard. And so then I had to knock it away and come back in, because I couldn't just push back against him, because we weren't equivalent in those same respects. He was stronger than I was. And that was an example of showing difference in strength without the one that, I almost regret bringing this up to them. Well, one of us brought it up to them, and then we harped on it together. But like, if someone's coming in really strong and they hit your blade, you have to show the force hitting. Now they all just say that without thinking about it.
What?
Like, this person's got 2 hands. You shouldn't be able to stop them with one-handed attacks.
Well, there are fighting styles that are one-handed.
But I guess what I'm saying is that like they it's like we give them one nugget of wisdom about like in this particular this situation or this type of thing, like show some reaction, and they take it and they make it like a universal truth, and they apply it to everything. We have to like unteach them what we just taught them.
It's like no. It's in this situation, it's like you can drive 35 miles an hour, except when it's snowing. It doesn't mean that you drive 15 miles an hour all the time now.
So.
How do we show your character in your fighting style?
Yeah, so why don't we pick a couple, let's run through a couple examples in your head. I don't know if you want to start with kind of like fighting styles and work back to what that may show about the personality. Start at personalities and work up to the styles. Let's talk about what comes to mind.
When it comes to picking a fighting style, and I'm going to go away from the limitation of just the 7...
If I may for a moment, because that brought a question to my mind. What are your thoughts on what comes first, the character or the fighting style?
That's where I was going to go. I'm going to step away from the limitation of just the 7 forms.
Oh yeah, I don't care about that. They're helpful crutches. But that's what they are.
I think, just like I had the name first, and you went with the attitude first for your character, it could go either way. You could either, I think first and foremost, there's a big range that you have to look at yourself physically.
What can you do?
Can you do? Now, I'm not going to say a short person cannot fight with a long blade. I can't tell you that a tall person couldn't fight with a short blade.
Well, there's a difference between should and shouldn't and can't.
Yes. Now, Matt had a 4-handed hilt and a 38 or maybe a 40-inch blade. He knew how to use his body in a way that the thing was fine, that the sword was fine. But you're asking, how do you, with this, the chicken or the egg or the chicken? So what I say is, physically.
Yeah. What can you do?
Like come to grips with what the hell you are. Like, because it's, like I fight with the short sword. I'm not going to be as fast or proficient as I'm going to be in the other one. I wouldn't take that as suddenly I'm going to use this as my main weapon. I would start basic, start simple, and just get a feel for a weapon.
So your suggestion is to kind of begin with the fighting style, or you're just talking
My
in general,
suggestion
as
is
a member of a club.
hold the thing. Now, because if you don't, just like I got this one, it's a big difference in once you are holding something and going, oh, okay, I have to swing this. Oh, this is heavy. Okay, well, right there physically, you know that you have to have something either lighter or shorter.
Or you have to get stronger
Or
for the heavier one. Yeah.
and work up to using something that's heavier, you know? And that was something I had to learn when I came here. I had to adjust from a 36 to a 34-inch blade. So yes, if you find it more comfortable, if you know you're a fast person, that's an important thing to know. You're not going to be you wouldn't prefer to be a bruiser if you're a fast person.
I think it's also important to draw a distinction between your character style and your style.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can speak personally. Making that realization helped me create the character because I wasn't worried about what I could and couldn't do anymore as the character. 'Cause I'm like, you know, I really love this overhead spinning slash that I do, but like, he wouldn't do it because that's too showy for him. Like, how do I make it work? And then one day I was like, he just wouldn't do it, but I would, so maybe I'll make a fight that's for me, or like, you know, I just won't use it in his character
I
fights.
see what you're saying.
Because a lot of people, they don't want to leave things out, but you kind of have to decide. Going back to our conversation about the characters, you have to decide what's allowable and what's
Well,
not.
yeah, like I'm practicing with the longsword. It doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to like put all of this Tai Chi stuff into what I'm doing. But when it's just me in class, yeah, I'm going to fight with what's comfortable. I don't really need to be super aggressive because I'm just, you know, I fight for fun and then I fight for
Character.
character. And
again, I think it's important because then once you separate those, then you can really take the character's fighting style where it needs to go
yeah,
versus where you want to go.
yeah, I'm gonna experiment with me to refine it for my character. You know.
Okay, so that's. So did you make any comment on which comes first, or did you just kind of broadly speak?
Broadly speaking, I think you need to hold a weapon too.
Okay, so let's talk about each of those two options then specifically. So let's say our thoughts on starting from the character and going to the style.
Why don't you go first on this one?
So what do I think about this? I think a good place to start for that, if you've got a character in mind, you're trying to figure out what they want to do, you could probably take something that's been helpful for me in just kind of making sense of everything. The 7 forms. I told you I've been kind of trying to figure out a bunch of different ways to convey their ideas to people.
I think we've both been bouncing these things around in our heads for a couple months
One of
now.
the recent ones I did, which seemed to work out pretty well, was I went to the Myers-Briggs personality test, and I tried to figure out what these forms, which of the archetypes, you know, INTF, whatever, INTF or what have you, which of those like a particular form would fit in. So I would be like, okay, which form is extroverted, which forms are introverted.
I still have to do the project you sent me.
No one's doing that. You could probably
No. I mean, you sent me, and you said in an email form.
Yeah,
it's a longer one.
You can the Excel sheet about evaluating like 5 videos.
No. It was the other one. You wanted my perception of what the forms were.
Whatever. Anyways, so, and I think you can use that same methodology thing, even if you don't know a lot about the forms. Again, research. But everyone has different opinions. Is you start with your character. Like, okay, I know who my character is.
Yeah.
Are they extroverted or are they introverted? Do they interact more, get more pleasure with interacting and controlling the world, or do they kind of keep to themselves and only interact when they have to?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, for that example, going to the forms again because they're a good crutch just to like mention because they encapsulate a big idea in a few simple words. A more introverted character is probably more prone to something like Suresu, which is more defensive, where you accept everything coming into you, but you really don't have the initiative to go after it, versus someone who, if they're like this boisterous character, and not even necessarily aggressive, but like, you know, larger than life personality, they may be something like Gemso or Otaru or Shisho, which are all about kind of like moving forward and pressing. Because if you've got this big personality, then your form's going to be flamboyant in some respect. And so I think just kind of drawing upon, I want to say just like the personality test. That's a helpful place to start. One of the beginning starting points.
I think both of us are kind of, because when you're saying that, like the accepting your personality, and I'm kind of going with like accept your body, because it could work for you and against you. You know, if you're big, doesn't mean that you can't do this. It just means that you're better at this. You know.
The difference between shouldn't, and can't.
Yeah, you know, like if someone's bigger than life, I'm not going to tell them, hey, you know, Ataru lets you flip over and do handstands. You know, I wouldn't. I would tell you that might be more challenging than it's actually worth doing. But you can also be the type of person that throws the other people around, which only a select few can do. You know.
I think it's also important. Something that doesn't get talked about a lot, that only a few members have really discussed, I think is incredibly important, is how you plan to resolve the fight. And this comes up with we talk about this with intention of strikes, like, you know, you aren't just throwing your saber out there so they can block it. Like you plan to do something with it.
Yeah.
In actual, you know, combat, you plan to, each motion has a purpose.
Yeah.
Because I'm swinging at this to either do A, maybe B, or like either of those.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I'm trying to actually attack you, or maybe I'm trying to set up for the next strike, or maybe I'm just trying to like throw you off, or maybe like whatever. Because there are styles that are like, okay, your job is just to survive. Or like your character doesn't want to hurt anyone. They're like, I'm just trying to survive this encounter. I'm going to incapacitate them non-lethally or damagingly, and I'll begin the fight. So maybe some people go, I want to fight just full kill, bloodthirsty. They'll die, and that'll be, you know, a glorious death. Some people that are like, I'm going to detain them and arrest them, so I have to weaken them. Mm-hmm. Some people are like, I'm going to cut off his arm, and that'll be the end of the fight. And so you have to think about Claire. I heard her saying that, like, my character is a Jedi, and she will never kill anyone. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be an easy thing to do, or it's so easy. I remember I was telling you, we were talking about the philosophy of Shisho, and I came to you and I was like, you know, James, I really don't like this way you keep talking about it like it's a weapon meant to kill people, and I kind of explained that the original purpose is meant that it's, you know, non-lethal resolution of a fight by disarming.
Yeah.
And we kind of concluded that your guy, you know, because he wasn't formally trained, he's not behooved to the philosophy of Shisho.
I know, that's how I was able to figure it out.
Yeah, but that talk we kind of like figure out how this fighting style interacts with your character. It was kind of like, oh, you know.
That's because I know my character well enough that I was like.
When we were going from the character to the fighting style,
yeah.
Like we could have if you had no fighting style, we could have reached that end point. With more discussion, mind you, but we would have probably gotten to that same point because you kind of knew what he would have approved of.
Yes.
And why he would have approved of it. So like Claire says, I'm not going to find you, I'm not going to kill anyone. Like, cool, that's great. You might have a Jedi who does kill people, but you better have a philosophical reason for why that's okay, because that's not super kosher for Jedi. Like, Anakin killed Dooku, but then...
But he had the issues.
But then he said, like, I shouldn't have done that, I should have brought him in. And Palpatine was like, he, you know, life or death, like, whatever. And no one really brought it up again. Again, movies, whatever. Obi-Wan sliced up Anakin, basically, for as far as Obi-Wan was concerned, that was death.
Yeah.
But he did it because, you know, Anakin was turning to the dark side and he'd done these horrible things. There's always exceptions. And those are fine, but I think you have to make your rules. Because we've got Jedi that are like, I'll stab people, just over and over again. And it's like, doesn't make sense for the character.
Yeah, you can't be a pacifist and then suddenly go, oh, only when it's convenient.
Exactly. You have to have this philosophy, and by that same token, you can't be. I'm like running through everyone in my head. We've got people who are like very fluid in their emotions, but then they'll do something where they'll go to block, and it'll just be like, and they'll just take it like square shoulders, head on.
Yeah.
You're like, you've lost the congruent nature of before, when you're kind of bouncing around and you're moving and you're...
Well, yeah, you've lost the flow because you lacked faith in what the form does. There's a reason that this form does this. There's a reason why you move and block. You know, there's a reason why you square up and block. You know?
Well, and I think that doubles back also to having the attention behind the moves. Like,
Yeah.
what's your goal? How are you going to resolve this fight? And that's probably going to be a major point I'm going to harp to the people when these lessons start. Is like, okay, when the fight starts,
People are taking notes.
There are two things you think about when this fight starts. The first two things, you think about nothing else. You don't plan a move until you've thought about these two things. One, why am I fighting this person?
Mm-hmm.
And two, how am I going to end this fight?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean one person beating the other. I mean, how is, in 2 minutes, what will be the resolution?
In 35 seconds.
Well,
I know what you mean, but the bigger ones, you have time to think of those things.
But it's kind of like, how's this going to resolve? Is someone going to be dead? Is someone going to be injured? Is someone going to run away? Are we going to mutually agree we should stop fighting for whatever reason? Is someone going to pay someone else off? Like, what? There are 100 different ways a fight can resolve. Maybe one person doesn't even swing a blade the entire time. They're just not even defensive. They just don't turn it on. Maybe someone whips out Form Zero and they use the force, and they mentally manipulate the other person out of the fight.
Yeah.
There's 100 ways you can end a fight, from Form Zero disengage to you cut them up in tiny slap chop pieces up their arm until they can't fight anymore.
Slap chop.
I like how that clearly got my point across.
I'm going to slam this lid on you, and you're going to fall apart little bits.
Diced pieces. And like that's another way you can like eviscerate someone, and that's the end of the fight. Clearly,
It's coming over like this whole, this past discussions. It comes down to like this is more than just swinging a sword, and it really is. It's like put some. It's all about effort and honesty with every one of these questions. That's what it comes down to. It's because both of us have different ways of getting to the same point, and they all come down to put some effort into like doing this.
And since I'm deciding whether or not I want to, like, I may cut this into like a shorter version. People can just listen to it. I don't know, but for the sake of that, just in case, we don't necessarily mean effort as in like you're not trying per se physically. All that may be part of it, but it's also like mentally be there, like think about these things, like pay attention to all the details. Even if the audience is never told or shown a detail, the fact that it exists in your mythos with your fight partner will color everything else you guys do.
Actors and actresses say that all the time. It's like, I didn't think I was going to like the character, but then when I started playing it, I found little things to do, and that's with these little things. There's this saying, easy does it, but do it. Like that's what this is. It's like
in my fight with Alex that we just did, we spent when we were coming up with the moves and like the sequences, because the guys were brothers, we kind of accidentally did this, and I'm glad we did though. We spent the entire time going, I've got to stop him. I can't let him build up any momentum because I know this thing he's trying to do, and he'll become really hard to beat if he actually finishes doing it.
Yeah.
And so he did the bucket punch. I disarmed his second sword. And, like with the fights full of those moments, it's almost everywhere, even in the stuff we didn't film, because it's like
that's a good fight.
Yeah, right. Because we know each other, and so there's kind of this desperation in some of our emotions. Because like I can't let him do this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna catch his fist with his lightsaber and then punch him in his helmet because I just can't let him keep going.
Well, but it's one of those things, like, if you've spent this much time, not even fighting with a person, but just in the club with each other, you get a sense of how they're going to do something. Every time, every bear pit, you could tell how long someone has by how standing still they are at the beginning of every fight. Like, none of us, the people that I remember from last year when we were outside, like one of us would go in and we're just standing there, and everybody was like, "Oh," and we're like,
"I want to bounce around." I'm
just waiting. Like there's nothing to do because there's nothing to do. Like that's the point. But I can tell everybody. I can't tell you how everybody fights because every fight they change their style.
I know no one's really committed.
I see John growing into his.
He's at the phase right now where he's John's kind of pushing into new territory, and he's not good at it. But that's it comes with the territory. You do new things, you have to get good at them, and that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to really push yourself, try new things.
Well, it's why like when you get saber tests, we tell you go pick up all of them. Like your hilt, Your hilt determines what you do and you can't do to some level.
I get, and this is the important thing, is the thing about the lightsabers is because they don't have a blade, like a directional blade, you can do anything with any of them. There's no single moves that are specific to, like, if we're going to the forms, just because it's I thought about this. There's no moves that you could only do with Shisha that you can't do in any of the ones.
No,
because you can pull any move from any of them to go any of them. It's more about how do you carry yourself as a duelist.
Yeah, but I guess the point that I was trying to get, comfort. Comfort for your hand.
Yeah.
That's what I mean in that, like.
But that also that kind of harkens back to how are you going to use it? Like,
well, yeah.
I despise the hand cutter because I do a lot of like moving hand work.
Yeah.
I lost all of this skill.
Well, that's why like I like mine sleek and simple, because that is kind of what I see in my fight style also, is very sleek and simple, you know? A couple of the other ones I can't do spins with because I just can't get a smooth, it rotates not enough for me to like walk with it.
But I know from Alex, he likes having a little more complex saber because he likes having this really defined place to put his hand. Yeah. And his hand moves a little bit. It's always going to.
But
he's got this
back to your.
He's got this comfort zone that he just holds on to. He's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is where I'm gonna be. And I think that's also reflective of his kind of like, honk. I'm gonna fight now. Whereas I'm kind of like, I'll throw my saber up in the air and catch it like at the last inch of the hilt and use that for something, because for me the whole weapon is
a weapon.
Equally valuable.
Yeah. I'm not going to cut off my pinky just because I don't use it a lot.
But that's different. So for me, having this, not quite, but almost just like a barrel aluminum tube would be best.
That's kind of mine.
But then you're like, oh, it doesn't look good though.
But I can fight better with it, you know.
Great fight. But kind of reeling in a bit again. So we're talking about, character personality through fighting. Kind of diverged a bit. We'll put that somewhere else. I don't know. What thoughts do you have on this? I know we have thoughts. I'm just trying to like formulate them.
I mean, they're all just going to be reiterations of like everything that we've probably already said. Because I can't tell you specifically one thing that will guarantee all of these to fit into place. I could just tell you the pieces and tell you to finish the border of the puzzle first. And then I'm not going to tell you like start at the right corner and then go downward, or start at the right corner and go on a diagonal, or start on the left bottom and go to the right.
I think it's also probably important, and I suppose this harkens back to the research instruction. When you investigate like existing martial arts, even if you don't learn them, because I imagine a lot of people aren't going to try and learn these things and whatever. That's fine. That's okay. But if you're looking for a style for your character, look at the people who are practicing those martial arts. Like if you check out some Tai Chi folk, they're going to be quiet, they're going to be meditative, they're going to be slow moving, and they're going to talk about inner peace and fulfillment and stuff. And then you go to a Taekwondo studio, and they're going up and down the floor, yelling with each punch. You can hear the sound of their robes snapping as they do the punch. And like those are different personalities of the practitioners.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan, Jet Li versus whatever, Jet Li versus Tony Jaa.
Kung Fu versus Gun Fu.
And so it's just important to, you can look at the practitioners, and you can even at people, if you know anyone who does a martial arts or even certain sports, ask them like the personalities of those practitioners. Like, what's a football player versus a soccer player? What's a baseball player versus a cricket player?
I got bouncers that I work with, and he does jiu-jitsu, and he's like a full-blown like bulked up dude, but he's completely calm, but purposeful. Every move is done for a reason. This one will lead you to this, and we'll watch the fights, like the UFC fights, and he'll tell me what he's seeing. This isn't this here, and I'll ask him like, how does this move? Like, I'll run ideas past him, and he says, well, in this form, this would be comfortable. You probably wouldn't do it in this one,
I think that also brings up a point. It's because thinking about observing other people's fighting styles. One, watch other people fight and take note of what you like and what you don't like. Your gut will guide you pretty well. But also, because I know we're going to talk a lot about this, I think the thing is, don't be afraid of the fluff.
Fluff meaning?
flourishes or unnecessary spins. The moments where you're like, oh, they could have killed you there. Those moments.
The longer I do this, those flourishes, the more I study and look at these flourishes are incredibly useful for specific reasons. They're not just make things look pretty.
The reason sometimes, trust me, sometimes the reason is that they look nice.
Yeah.
But also maybe that's to exercise, because there's a difference between when you're doing, I guess what we call the duel-ons, which are like the practice sequence of moves.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a move in there that you just do there to either practice to work a certain muscle or to do a particular motion.
Yeah.
And that's why that's in there. It's not necessarily this combat appropriate move, but it's there for some reason to look nice, even if that's the. But even if a move is flourishy and it kind of falls in that range of, oh, well, you could have gotten stabbed during this. Is it serving a purpose? Imagine I don't have to do like a flourish. I could reach across the table and just straight up punch you.
Yeah.
But what if the first thing I did was I put my hand right here in front of your eyes, and then I punched you? Chances are you would freak out about the hand in front of your eyes, and your attention would go there, and then I'd be clear to punch you. Whereas if I just threw a punch, there's a chance you might just deal with the punch, because that's the only thing that's happening. Whereas if I do this first, this is where your attention is. It's over your eyes, my hand over your eyes.
Yeah, my body went.
And so, whoop, pow.
Like, I know your fucking hand's going to be there, but biomechanically, like.
And so, versus if I actually went for a punch, that's the only stimulus you're reacting to. And so if you're doing a flourish, maybe the point of the flourish is to draw attention, or maybe the flourish is to preserve momentum.
Well, yeah.
There's also been a couple flourishes that I pulled off. They are definitely less frequent than other flourishes, but they are, they change the angle that you're moving.
Oh, yeah.
Like you'll be moving this way, and then you'll do like a flourish, and then suddenly I'm coming up.
They're transition.
Yeah, but the fact that it's a flourish, you could have that flourish, you could not have that flourish. You could cut across and then stop yourself and then come up. You could follow the same path without the flourish. That's not necessarily better. They tell two different stories. There's one of this guy who's just cutting across, stopping his hand and cutting up. He's more direct, he's more bold, he's more to the point. Versus the person who cuts across, rotates, spins it around their back once and then cuts up. Maybe they're preserving momentum. Maybe they're moving faster. Maybe they're more fluid and they're kind of like sloshing around.
Or they're buying a second for you to move.
Because that flourish behind your back, it could defend a strike, or it could just be like, a spinning laser blade that you just kind of don't want to get entangled with. So you take a step away from them because you're like, oh God, what's happening? And so you got to think about even these moves that may seem silly or without purpose. There could be a reason, and it could reflect in the character's personality.
Yeah.
That's what I have on that. It's slightly deviated, but from my original point.
Well, try everything, and at some point you have to make a decision. Like there's different positions on a soccer field. At some point you got to realize, I suck at trying to get goals, but I'm pretty good at blocking people. And that kind of just comes, this is what practice is for. But at some point, probably within 30 days, you should probably go, you know what? I'm okay with a shorter blade. Oh, you know what? I'd rather have a smaller hilt. Oh, and then if you buy a $200 thing and then not want to know how to use it properly, then why did you buy it to begin with? If it's just be part of the club,
okay.
Use the club ones or use one of the foam ones. We're not going to tell you not to, but if you want to do this, this is the circle. This gets involved.
It's a circle of effort, research, and effort.
But in our world, it's the circle of fun. Like this, nothing I'm saying is arduous.
I mean, arduous in the sense of unpleasant. Like it's difficult. Like really practicing or like. I'm definitely there's things I used to be able to do in the club that I can't anymore, just because my heart isn't as good as it once was. My breath capacity is a little lower than it used to be. So like I can't run as hard as I used to. I'm a better duelist than I used to be, but I'm not as
yeah. But I mean, even
and that falls on me because I didn't keep up with my exercise. I didn't practice, so I don't have the full access to what I could.
But I mean, I'm going from like a 27-year-old to a 37-year-old.
Yeah.
I've done nothing in this time frame that was hard. It was challenging because it's physical, but yet I've never felt, what is that?
You're always happy to do it.
Yeah, if you work a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I've never experienced like this being a task, you know, or regretting the decision of doing this. That's because
I want to be here.
this is peace. These are my football games every week. You know, these are my getting together with the friends on the weekend. Like this is what it is. It's not like it's, you know.
And it just turns out that, you know, to be good at something, you actually have to keep trying at it.
Oh my God, you mean practice?
Anyways, back to it. Do you have any other comments on character personality through fighting style? Any tips, any tricks, any pitfalls we should ask them to avoid that we haven't said already?
I think something that you said is don't be afraid of the challenge. Don't be afraid of messing up. Don't be afraid of what's the difference between failure and of giving up and success? One more failure.
Well, yeah, it's the difference between failure and giving up is just getting back up again.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's hanging at my wall in my place. But
some kitten hanging from a branch somewhere.
It's literally try everything to get to somewhere. That's it.
Really, people should just. There needs to be. I know for a while.
Consequences.
Well, no, we've got a conflicting problem here. Is that so? On one hand, people they're not really seeing the development in crisp, fine detail that we would like to see. So we tell them, keep working with this person, keep practicing, like keep doing this fight until it's better. But the problem with that is you end up with people that are pigeonholed. They only experience a certain number of ideas. One of the things that happened a lot back when I joined the club was a lot of people fought with a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And most of the pretense for a fight wasn't just, oh, I haven't fought with you yet. It was, I've got this idea, and I think you're the right person for me to mess around with this idea with. Or like sometimes it was even, you're the only person available right now. Let's go. Like,
and it was and it was also that watching of like, I know you can spin really well. What am I doing wrong?
like, or watching someone and being like, that was awesome. Can we go try that?
Yeah.
Like I'd watch other people's fights and I'd be like, shit, that was cool. That thing he just did was awesome. It gives me an idea.
Well, that's how the Lethal D got created.
That was me. The Lethal D was me trying to simplify 2v1s because 2v1s are awesome, but they're so hard to do.
Yeah, that's good in concept, but actually going and doing it is another thing that then led on to the 2-on-2 fight concept because there was a way to translate it.
Because when you're standing here and you know square 0, all you can see are square 1s around you.
Yeah.
And so you take one step in that direction and suddenly you see a new layer of square 2s, and you're like, oh, well, let's keep going.
Yeah, and then what did we do as soon as we figured out the Lethal D? We pulled other people over and did that with them. What did we do once we figured out the cavalry thing? I just kept adding 2 into it until
we had that caterpillar train.
I still got a couple more people to get up to speed so I could have 18. But the point is that it was like, I'm not just here to do nothing or to do one thing. I'm here to do everything until something clicks. And I go for it, you know? Because it's like training, your own lightsaber, your own outfit,
Your own motivation.
Fight. Like that's what the end goal is.
And you gotta have, and I guess since we seem to be wrapping up here, you gotta have pride in your work. And I don't mean to say that people don't think much of their fights, but like you gotta record the fights. You gotta watch your recordings, saying, do I like this? Do I not like this? Ask other people's opinions. What do you think of this? How does this look?
Well, don't do a fight just to do a fight.
No, but I mean, you've got to care about where it's coming from and where it's going. This may be just a function that we don't have as many people as we used to.
Yeah.
Where sometimes there'd be like 5 fights going on, but then also there'd be like a bunch of people just doing nothing. You could just pull a bunch of people over and be like, "Hey, what do you guys think of this?" Sometimes I pull you over, and I say like, "What do you think of this particular sequence?" Because I want to share it with someone. I want to be like, "I think this feels cool. How's it look?" And sometimes that's amazing. Sometimes it's, that was cool, but like, could you try this? Or sometimes it's, I didn't like the way that looked.
Or it's, take this one move out and try this.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you get all these different opinions. Because we don't actually. I've said this many times before. I don't know how to sword fight. I can fake it reasonably okay.
I don't know martial arts. Like it's what's the first thing I always say? Listen, I get to play with a glorified flashlight and wear an awesome outfit. Like that's all that this is. At the end of the day, that's what it is. But it's fun.
And I see people like they'll do stuff and this, I'm not saying, oh, they don't listen to us and that makes me mad.
They do.
But it's that, like, you know, we'll give them critiques like, this is an issue you guys are having and you're being held back because of this problem. And then they don't address it, and that holds them back.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel like they don't care, because why wouldn't you want that to be better? Why wouldn't you want to do everything you reasonably could to make that fight awesome, to be proud of that fight, to record that and be like, show it to people and be like, look how cool I am in this fight, and look how cool my partner looks because we're awesome.
I use a lot of analogies, but they're visual. You never see a sport team go, oh, they're an easy team, we don't have to practice. Like you would be out of your mind if you said that. No fight is a throwaway fight. Every fight is a fight, because you're either going to spend an hour on it, 2 hours on it. You're spending your time doing it. If it's a throwaway fight, don't even do it then. Like you know.
I mean, me and Jeff showed those when we did the variations of the universal fight.
Yeah, which was awesome.
The one we did with the high intensity. We were like, that was one we made up on the spot in 20 minutes. We went at it.
Yeah.
In like, you know, yeah, would I have liked to change things about that? You know, if I was actually making that into a fight, of course. But it ended up somewhere like where our high energy and our yelling and our strikes, like I was breathing heavily afterwards.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a thing that had happened in recent time. That's exciting to me. I'm like, ooh, I'm getting to push my limits in this fight. Something about this fight and how it's set up is making me like reach for it.
Well, it's also the biological thing. Like, why wouldn't I want my endorphins going? Oh my God, I feel great about myself, and I just did something that's so awesome that I didn't even think I could do. Like, if you don't want to experience that, don't fight. Like, don't. You know, you're getting the one thing that I was talking with Maria about.
Keep talking. I was checking the time.
And this kind of, you know, we were talking about personality and character. Like this, if you look at Drexel and their structure of like work time, class time, work time, class time, this is an internship for the rest of your life. You were having leadership skills built here. You were having communication skills built here. You're being shown that you can be better than you think that you can be, and that you can overcome nerves and build confidence.
And that failure is just a stepping stone.